This August 1999 marks the 75th anniversary of JoJo's Tavern on Anaheim Street, still to be considered by many a Long Beach landmark. The old-time no-frills eatery and pool hall endures, much unchanged. To commemorate the occasion, I've been researching JoJo's life. So what was he really like? This man who took up snow skiing at 65 years old and dirt bike riding at 75. I'm Kathleen Buck. JoJo's was my husband's grandfather. I've heard so much about him, true and untrue, I really would have liked to have met him. He was a man's man, yet sensitive and a genuine humanitarian. Unfortunately, he died 24 years ago in 1975, and I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him. Though he's gone, I see his spirit of adventure, confidence, self-reliance, and a sincere disposition living in other family members. Strange how some Americans clamor for role models to admire. They look to athletic heroes and movie stars, yet fail to consider the value of assimilating the positive qualities of their own relatives. Joe was born in a small Hungarian town called Insterfold. His parents were poor peasant farmers, and at the young age of 12, he was either given a choice of becoming a priest or getting a job. Off he went to live with an uncle in a nearby village to serve a 4-year apprenticeship as a barber. You see, Joe had a dream of his own. Fascinated by books he'd read about the United States, he romanticized about journeying to America. And in those days, I'm told you had to have a skill or a trade before coming to the U.S. This being a part of the plan, at age 16 he sailed the steamer that landed in New York Harbor. He never forgot the moment he first gazed upon the Statue of Liberty, a memory he kept close to his heart for his entire lifetime. Now, this part gets confusing, but accompanying Joe was a newfound friend, also called Joe, from the uncle's barber shop. Family members later call him Uncle JoJo. After landing in New York, Joe got a job as a barber, but he always had the wanderlust. He was excited to see the rest of the U.S., and his method of operation was to get established in a place, then send for his friend Uncle JoJo. The first thing he did when he arrived in a new town was buy a freshly starched collar, clean up, and go get a job. Joe scouted barber shops with the best clientele, and he told his daughter Pat, "I always got a job immediately." He worked his way westward, venturing from New York to Chicago, on to Denver, and then wound up in Upland, California, where he met his future wife, Edith McKean. With each city, Uncle JoJo followed up the trail. Yearning to see the world, Joe hopped a Spreckles freighter bound for Australia. The ship stopped off in the island Paradise, and Joe became the first blonde, curly-haired man to be presented to the Queen of Hawaii. Arriving in Australia with a mere $5 gold piece, he quickly landed a job. By the time Joe set foot in New Zealand, he wired Uncle JoJo, still stateside, for some money. What he received was a one-way, non-refundable ticket back to the U.S., which ended his intended world tour. Apparently, Uncle JoJo knew he would have kept on the move. After returning to Upland, Joe married Edith in June of 1917. He worked as an insurance agent for a short time, but then enlisted in the Army. During World War I, he drove a supply wagon and served as an infantry foot soldier in Europe. After an honorable discharge, he went back to Upland and dabbled in the insurance business once more. But in 1920, Joe truly found his niche when he opened up a place of his own. Unknown to many, the original JoJo's was located on Balboa on Main Street. He sold candy, ice cream, cigarettes, along with other sundry items, and Eastside near beer. For the gamesmen, billiards and poker were played in the back. In 1924, Joe sold his Balboa location and moved to Long Beach. He established Joe Jost on Anaheim Street as a barbershop combination pool and poker emporium. Various sundry items continued to be sold: corncob pipes, cigars, razor blades, headache remedies, etc. When Prohibition was repealed, Joe started to serve cold beer in addition to some sandwiches. Hence, the beloved special was invented, along with Joe Joe's pickled eggs. During that time, he also sold fresh eggs and slabs of bacon to go. Soon thereafter, the Barbering Commission came in and informed Joe that it was much too dangerous to cut hair where alcohol was served and consumed. So out went the barber chairs, and in went the now old initial engraved booze. Joe was a tenacious worker and managed to cut costs during the Depression years by using his business savvy. Electricity costs were high. He'd turn the lights off and then turn them back on again when he heard potential customers approaching in traffic. As the years passed, his son Joe Jr. became a partner at, quote, the store, unquote. This acceptable title for the family tavern was given by Joe's wife Edith, a proper teetotaler. Joe was able to take even more time off having Joe Jr. in charge in his absence. Of course, there was a few squabbles about the rearrangement of bread stock and other condiments. But that was the price Joe had to pay because he had a passion for camping and fly fishing. He'd take long trips for 2 to 3 months at a time. And in spite of his great love for people, Joe cherished his solitude. For the first few weeks, he enjoyed setting up camp and being alone. After that time, all friends and family were welcome. He even acquired the nickname Sierra Joe. It seemed an appropriate name since he had a pure reverence for all animals, nature, and the beauty of the stars. Joe spent his retired years first in Desert Hot Springs. There he learned to dirt bike and spent a lot of time swimming and taking saunas. He also fed the coyotes. His daughter Pat said, "My daddy wasn't afraid of anything." When he quit driving, he moved to Leisure World. There he played billiards and cards and attended all the dances. Oh, I forgot to mention, on his Atlantic crossing he rode steerage, but spent most of his nights on the upper decks when the ladies found out what a fabulous dancer he was. Naturally, Joe made a lot of new friends at Leisure World with his magnetic personality and the mini JoJo's bar he set up on his patio. Books and music were always very important to him. Forever an opera fan, he continued to listen to all kinds of music. A self-educated man with a thirst for knowledge, he selected to read mostly factual books. The only novel he ever read was Old Man and the Sea. Remember that old saying, you can pick your friends but not your family? Well, after my investigation, Joe would have served as a terrific role model for any age group, and many of us would have selected him as a family member. His memory is still honored by the camaraderie of the customers. So, in the tradition of his the come-as-you-are atmosphere, the paint-stained painter sitting next to the lawyer dressed to the nines will be toasting to honor Joe Jost's memory and to pay tribute to the 75th anniversary of Joe Jost Tavern, still family-owned and operated by my husband, Ken Buck. Happy birthday, Joe Jost!